This might be loud. Oh. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of Totally Local Podcast, where we interview local lovely characters and entrepreneurial businesses and find out what's cooking on the streets of Monmouth and Ocean County. What's cooking on the streets, Leo? You like that?
I do.
All right, good. This week, let me just do a little magic fade out. Boom. I'm stepping it up, Leo. I got a soundboard out.
And I think that's because I criticize you, but it's not. It's in love. I'm trying to get the best out of you. And look, last week you had to. I don't know what you were doing last week, but this week you get a little button.
Boom. It's right. I got a little button, and you're right. But let's get to the important guest we have here, Bob Ellis. Hello, sir.
Hello. I love the banter.
Yeah, that's what we're all about. That's what our friendship is all about, really. He's been, critiquing me.
Are you like friends or like frenemies with good like?
This is what I love about Bob. When I first met Bob, he started interviewing me. So when I first met you, you're like, "Hi, what do you do? What are you about? What do you do?" And that's kind of.
I have no social skills.
No, I think you have all the social skills. No. And you're going to be put on the hot seat because what we're going to talk about. That's right. It's going to get warmed up.
Okay. Oh wait, I should put my drink in the little drink holder.
You can go for it.
So you answer the question. We're friends.
Yes, we're friends.
Okay, I like that.
But I watched
This must be like a card table. That's why you have a little drink.
It was at one point, I believe they have another one in the other studio, what I like to call Studio B.
Got it.
So anywho.
Yes, sorry.
I understand that you. Well, I do more than understand. I saw you on your episode of. What the heck? What is it called?
It's called Here's the Story.
There we go.
I Talk to Strangers.
Yes.
It's yeah.
So it's a New Jersey show, which here at Totally Local Podcast, we totally love that because we're totally talking about local things. But on your episode, and the episode was called I Talk to Strangers,
right? Because
you go up to strangers and talk to them.
Yes. So it's So this incredibly nice guy named Steve Rogers.
I think I met him before.
I met him through Jen at the Parlor Gallery. Jen, who is the guest on the last wonderful Totally Local. So this show will be slowly going like this. But next week, it'll go way up high.
It's all been going up. As long as me and Leo are here, it's a steady rise.
Well, that's good though. That's good. Jewish guys don't know what steady rise is. We don't find out about that until Actually, I don't think we ever find out about that, actually, if I understand. But anyway, so she had mentioned that, it's such a weird thing to talk about myself, but so I do these dinner parties, okay? And the only way to describe it is, and it's all organic. So what happened was I had a neighbor, and who doesn't like me anymore, so I won't mention her name.
Okay.
And her boyfriend. And it was more than a boyfriend because I have a hard time with that too because they've been together for like 2 billion years, but they're not married. And I don't like the idea of a significant other. That just sounds kind of like postal. It sounds like a tax thing.
Isn't it legally? Aren't you like bound to someone if you?
I don't know, but and then I always felt badly because it's like boyfriend and girlfriend just seem so trivial when you're like with somebody like 20-something, 25 years, like a long time,
That's
right?
Your main steady.
So main steady, that even kind of like, so I do. So I use boyfriend, but then I don't know. So anyway, he was always working, and I would cook, and I'd be like, oh, you want to come over for dinner? And she's like, sure. And then she had a friend, and I didn't know the friend. The friend came over, and then we all did it, and then we started to be like, oh, we should do these dinner things, and I would do them so I did it every Monday for 2 years. I'd make dinner, and people would bring people, or I'd meet people and be like, oh, you should just come for dinner and stuff like that. So then when I moved to Asbury, I live in Ocean Grove, by the way, so I am not entrepreneurial and I am not local to Asbury.
You're
so
very self-deprecating, but you're all of those things.
I totally screwed up the beginning of the show because I fit that other category. But
don't mind me.
No, that's all right. After Mexican, I make the same noise. But knew a lot of people in town. And what was weird was I always thought that everybody else knew everybody. And what happened was not everybody knew everybody. So I did these dinners, and then after a while I decided, well, you know what I'll do? I'm going to throw a big dinner party for everybody in town. And so Jill and Jen of the gallery let me take over the gallery. And we did our first Friendsgiving. And that one actually I didn't make so I make dinners. So on Mondays I actually make the meal.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody has to bring anything because, you know what happens? It's like you say, oh, you want to come to dinner? Oh, that'd be great. Love to come to dinner. You know, and then it's Monday and you're like, oh shit, it's 5:30. I haven't made what I was supposed to make, or oh, I got to go pick that thing up. And then like, oh, I don't know if I feel like doing that. And they don't come, and that defeats the whole purpose of it. So I would make the meal, and the goal would be is everybody comes over and you could stay, not stay, eat, not eat. If it's really shitty, we would get pizza. Oh, I have to put something in the swear jar. I have a very bad mouth.
This is an explicit podcast, so you're totally fine.
Okay.
Just stop futzing with the mic stand and we're good.
Oh, okay. I'm not very good at sitting still. So anyway, but we did this Friendsgiving thing, and like the first year I think we had 45 or 50 people, and last year we had 79.
Wow, that's a big dinner.
And and I
what do you cook? What kind of food?
So for the for the Friendsgiving thing. Oh, what was?
I was not close to the mic. He was giving me instruction.
Oh, okay. Oh.
You're good.
I can't get close because of my nose. It keeps hitting it if I lean forward too much, so I have to sit back. For the dinners and like over the summer, like maybe you guys will come during the summer, I do them outside, and so I have like 30 people or something like that for those. But then Friendsgiving, I make the turkey, the ham, I make homemade applesauce.
That's all.
And then I do all the like the wine, the beer, and the tables and the chairs and the pretty stuff and all that thing like that. And then,
go.
No, go on. No,
go
so
for it.
when you are deciding who's going to come to your friend's dinner, you don't decide.
No, there's no decision. It's just a matter of pretty much. So like 114 people were invited to Friendsgiving, which is the big event not big, but like the big event, and that changes because people will be like let's say I invited you guys, right? And you're like, I don't really know this guy Bob, but hey, I'm going to go to the thing, right? So all of a sudden I'll get a text from you, and you're like, hey, I got a buddy in town, and I was wondering like, can they come or should we just not go? And I'll be like, yeah, just bring them. So like, there's a whole bunch of that happens.
Right.
And then I forget. This probably was I think this was in the episode. Yeah, I do forget. Like I just forget. I'll be like, oh shit, Leo, I forgot. Like, and it's not because I don't invite you. It's because I just don't remember. And then I'll be like, oh, so I'll invite you. So it's not like this exclusive thing. It's just I have to remember to tell you, or somebody else has to tell you. Like, because people will be like, oh, you didn't tell Leo, and so I told Leo. I'm like, oh, great.
So how often are you doing these dinners?
So the Friendsgiving I only do once a year, just because
it's a lot.
It's a lot, and so what I did was I have a nonprofit that I do because I do a lot of things. That somebody told me last year. They said, instead of you just keep spending all this money, why don't you actually create a nonprofit so you can actually give money to the nonprofit and still do all the things, but you get kind of a tax write-off, which, by the way, this year didn't work. Did not do anything this year. No, I got like totally screwed. So
a lot of people did.
Yeah. So no, it's really just a function of like I do these dinners for families. Like I take 10 couples in Asbury, and I do this. It's all anonymous, so they don't know it's me. But I do this, and they now still won't know it's me because they don't know the whole thing. But and then I let them go to any restaurant in town, and then I get them like flowers and childcare and parking, and then they get to go for dinner, and it's a chance for this is gonna sound awful. It's like, so I'll say it this way. So when I grew up, we weren't poor. But like we couldn't go out to dinner all the time and stuff like that. It gets expensive, And Asbury, it's like
very expensive.
You can't really go out. Like even if you're working, right? So it's not something for homeless. It's not like that because that's a whole different thing I've done. This is like for like what I call like working poor, but I don't mean that in a pejorative way. Just people who don't get a chance to get a break. And so my goal of it was to let folks just have a night out, like make them feel special. And the restaurants don't. The manager of the restaurant knows, but none of the staff know because nobody's supposed to go in feeling like, oh, you have a charity thing. They just know that this person got a gift card, and that's it. So that people don't, you don't want people to feel. I don't want anybody to feel badly about it. Like it's not like a charity thing. It's just like you deserve a pause. And so I know this is a very long-winded answer. So the thing is, it just depends on how much money I have. Because I'm doing that, I'm trying to do a family day where I'm going to take over at the table for brunch, and then they're going to go to the showroom for movies, and then they're going to go for ice cream, and that's going to be like up to 50 people, mainly hopefully kids with their parents. So I'm planning that. I screwed that up last year because I tried to do it. I was going to call it the Incredible Day, so I was going to show The Incredibles and then give them a ticket to go see Incredibles 2 that was coming out, but I just didn't get off my ass enough to get it all done. So I'd love to do Friendsgiving twice a year because that'd be kind of fun because it seems like everybody really likes it. So I'm really good at like getting people together. And then I'm very good at like connecting people, like, oh, did you know that this person does this and that person does that? But then I step back because I really have not a lot to, like, there's really not much here. So I'm good at this part. And, but it just seems nice. Everybody gets together. It's really, there's no, I don't stop playing with that. There's no, the goal of it is just to get people to chill and relax. It's the same thing with Friendsgiving. So Friendsgiving, like, a bunch of people who don't know each other, and then there's a core group of people who do come every year, like every time, and then we've had some people who have come and never come back, or have come and then they have a fight with somebody, and then they but I still invite everybody.
Mm-hmm. So do you have like a website for this so people can donate for it, or how do you get the funds together?
LongfellowDeedsInc.com. Before he goes into a giant diatribe about the website and how he got it and everything, LongfellowDeedsInc.com, and I'll put the link up on everywhere.
Thank you. That's right. So, yeah, I've never. So my sister and 3 friends have donated, but I actually don't ask for money. So anything I do, I've never asked for money. So I don't. It's just basically I save, and then if I get a bonus at work, I put a certain amount of that towards the thing. So that's how I come up with the money.
What about your origin story? Like, where are you from? How did you end up in Ocean Grove?
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about you.
It's really kind of a dull story, but I was born in northern Jersey, West Orange, and then lived a lot of places, and then I got married and was living in Colts Neck, and then I got divorced, and I was part of a startup that was in Pennsylvania, so I lived in Pennsylvania for a while, and I was commuting back and forth to see my kids. I have 2 kids. That if you saw the thing,
I did.
My daughter did the thing on that one, and then my son was in the background in the kitchen at one of the things. Which the TV show didn't have Nikki doing the intro thing. I didn't know they were doing that. That was like a little surprise thing, so that was kind of cool. So anyway, so when the kids were getting to a certain age, I was like, I wanted to find something closer to Colts Neck because I'm like, they're not going to leave their friends every weekend to go out to their dad, even though they were like, we don't mind not seeing our friends. We'll hang out with you. I'm like, yeah, you're going to get to the point where you will. So I was looking for a place, and when I was looking, I was originally looking in Asbury, but when I moved here like 14 years ago or so, maybe, when I was looking in Asbury, where I was looking, because it was like a second house, it was a little sketchy.
Yeah.
And like the kids were little, and it wasn't like, go out and play. It would be more like, no, just stay like in this little quadrant right here. So we would go through Ocean Grove to go to Asbury, because I had just forgotten that, if you come up from Spring Lake. So I had a girlfriend named Jen, who was not the Jen of Jen Parlor, because everybody's really funny, because I guess throughout the TV thing I mentioned Jen
a couple times, and then you're hanging out with Jen,
and everybody's like, "Oh, your girlfriend's so sweet. She said such nice things." I'm like, no. The really cool guy who's kind of like, "No, I don't talk to anybody." That's Jen's. This and Jen? No. But so my old girlfriend Jenny, she was from Pennsylvania, so we used to go to Spring Lake. That's when I was trying to, impress, basically trying to have sex. I'm like, let me take you to the beach. We'll go to the beach, And so we decided we would look in Asbury. And so we would go through Ocean Grove. And, I'm Jewish, I'm not a religious person, but I grew up Jewish. So when I was a kid, we would go to Phillips Beach in Long Branch, and you would never go to Ocean Grove. Like that was when they used to put the big chain. I don't know if you know, they used to put the big chains over. Yeah, so it was really not a very Jew friendly kind of place. Yeah. But fortunately, like the gay guys moved in, and Ocean Grove
fixed it all up.
What? Bring in the Jews instead. So that was great, and then it worked out really well, and so on and so forth. And now we're all taking over and stuff like that. But
thank God.
Yeah, exactly. But. Yeah, so we got the place there, and then at some point in time, I think Jen and I had a little break. I should probably text her. She would probably tell me. I think we had like a little breakup, Yeah, I think so, because we were, I don't remember. Anyway, I moved full time to Ocean Grove, and then I've been down ever since. And then I just kind of, I guess it's really like the show. I just kind of walk around and I meet people, and
You like to walk and talk to people.
Yeah.
You're very like, I love to talk, obviously, and I love to meet people and ask them stuff, but you have such a open kind of aura about yourself, where you on the show, it's to me it seems, and from when the first time we met, how you just kind of went right into it, like, who are you, what do you do, kind of stuff. But you have this natural way of just kind of going up to somebody, and they seem to really take a liking to you immediately, whereas I would be kind of nervous that somebody would be like, what's going on here? Do you find that's the case usually? Like, you just have this natural, approachable way about you?
I don't. So the movie was interesting, or the TV episodes, whatever the hell I'm supposed to call it. So I remember when I met Steve, and I'm getting to your answer.
I'm sure.
And when I met Steve, he's like, okay, so we're gonna go out. He goes, so what's your like normal plan, and how do you go out meeting people? I'm like, I have really no idea what you're talking about. And he goes, well, where do you go? I'm like, I don't. I say to him, like, I don't even know what we're going to happen. I'm like, so Jen came the first time. She goes, we'll go take a walk. And I'm like, okay. And fortunately, we walked, and then that's where, like, so I don't have a thought to all this. And I've been this way since I was really little. And what was funny is I used to always say to Jen, both Jens, I don't really know. I've always been this way. And so it's funny. So I've gotten all these texts from like people that I've known all my life, or like, from high school. So I was like ahead of a lot of things and stuff. So I knew people. And they're like, oh my God, you haven't changed. Because this is exactly how I've been all my life. So I don't know the answer to that. I'd like to think that I am a white dinner plate. Meaning I'm just the plate. There's nothing there. It's blank. And when you go up to somebody, whatever they put on there, it makes it feel like it's special. So that's all I am. I'm just this
You're holding the food. That's like the most important part, really, of the meal is the plate.
No, I am genuinely interested in people. So maybe it's the, I can go up to somebody and then like, oh my God, I really like that shirt. Like, and men or women, like, and I don't really care. And like, I got freaked out some guy in the elevator a couple of days ago, because we're in an elevator going to a show, and I'm with a friend. And we're getting in the elevator, we're in the city, and we're going up, and I'm looking, and the guy all of a sudden looks at me, I'm like, I really like your shoes. Those are really nice shoes. And like all of a sudden, it was kind of like, you couldn't quite figure out the whole thing.
You're in the city, so
also I have that gay, not gay, like that's what Summer calls me. It's like, I'm her gay, not gay friend. So he couldn't quite figure the whole thing out. But for the most part, I think it's because I guess I'm really harmless. I was out with Mike Sedano from the showroom, Mike Sedano, owner of the showroom, with Nancy. And we were at a restaurant, and the waitress came over, and I'm like, oh my God, you have these great eyes, and so on and so forth. And then he's like, oh, you should. So she walked away, and then we talked. He goes, oh, you should, oh my God. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I can't do that. I had friends that would tell me to do that, like, go up, say that. I'm like, I like talking to people, but I can't go up and like.
Well, no, I don't do it to close. Like, I don't have any. I have no belief that I'm going to talk to anyone, and they're going to be like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, tell me about my eyes.
Well, you should definitely talk like that. That would work.
Yeah, no. So really, I guess truly, I have no. And it just sounds so pompous. This is why I have a hard time talking about it. But I really have no expectation when I meet somebody. I truly just like to know. I marvel at people. I really think it's, I think we spend so much of our life, like moving to the next thing, that we don't always pay attention to stuff. And then people get caught looking backwards. And I'm like, it's okay to look backwards to see where you've come from. But you can't be like Marley's Chains. Like, do you know the Christmas Carol? Remember the movie The Christmas Carol? No, you probably don't know that. Okay, anyway, so
A Christmas Carol. Yeah.
So Scrooge had a partner named Marley, right? Yeah. And when he comes to visit him first, he comes in and he has all of these chains on him, and they were all of the weights that he carried throughout his life, of like the shoulda, the couldas, and wouldas, so to speak. So I always say that people like, you don't want to have Marley's chains. You want to look back and say, oh, so and so. Because I'm a firm believer. Like, I have a friend who I can't say her name because she works with the company I'm at, and I think she's going to leave to go to this other opportunity. And I texted her last night, and I said, here's totally some unsolicited advice. One, like, it's never the wrong decision. Like, I'm a firm believer nobody intentionally makes a decision at the time going, okay, this is the right decision, this is the wrong decision. I'm going for the wrong decision, right? You at the time, so you can look back and say it was the wrong decision, but you can't beat yourself up over it. You have to sit back and look back and say, why did I make that decision? And it was funny. There was a piece on the radio this morning about the song that Youngbloods. Come on together now, everybody get together, try to love somebody. All right, okay. So there's a line in there where it's you can learn from love or you can learn from fear, right? Mm-hmm. And it just has been like reverberating in my head all day because I really don't have much there, so it's like a ping pong machine. It's kind of like sometimes my head's kind of like those. Remember those games with the 3 little balls?
Yeah.
And you had to like go like this to get them all there. That's how my head is because you might get the 2 in the thing and then you go like this and like something goes off. So I'm like, oh, squirrel. But so the thing is that I just think that the problem is that. I'm losing you guys on this.
No, we're loving it.
I'll bring it all back.
This is great.
No, but the thing is that you don't make the wrong decisions. So you want to look back and determine why did I make that decision? Did I make it because I was afraid? And that was the other thing I said to her. I said like, don't make a decision based on fear. Like, it's okay to be a little nervous. It's okay to have a little worry, but don't live in fear. Mm-hmm. And I know that because I think a lot of decisions I made through my life, I did like, well, am I going to be able to take care of this person, or am I going to be able to do this? Like, you don't make decisions. At least I didn't. Mm-hmm. And so I'm very sensitive to that to make sure people don't make decisions based on fear. But you want to be somewhat wise. And then I think it's important for people to always see where they've come from. So genuinely, and then I really think you picked that outfit out today. You picked that outfit today. There was a reason why, mm-hmm. right? Like I put this on because I was lazy as shit, right? But that that lazy shit thing, right? And so, but. People do things, and I think it's so life's not really about big things. Mm-hmm. Like life's not big things. Life is a fluidity of small interactions, right? And for me personally, I think it's very important that every interaction you have should go in with a positive thought of how can you positively affect the person that you meet, right? Just in like hello, a smile, and people are always like, oh, it's because you're like in New Jersey, or you're like, oh, you're not. Like, I don't know. I talk to people all over the world. Mm-hmm. Like, when I travel, this is exactly how I am when I travel. I'll be like, oh my God, like, and I don't know. I think maybe I'm harmless. Maybe that's why I don't get laid enough. But I'm harmless.
Well,
I found out, by the way, I should not say laid.
Get laid.
My kids tell me you say laid a lot in the show, Dad. And first of all, no one says laid anymore. That's like I guess an archaic term. But I am going to be 60, so I do have a certain amount of like.
Did they give you a word did they recommend a word?
No, I think they just told me to stop saying that, don't get laid, but I'm like,
It is kind of, there's one thing to consider though. It is kind of like because I used to say certain things over and over again, and what it becomes is sort of like a mantra. So if you're saying to yourself, I'm not going to get laid, it's kind of subconsciously going into your head. So you're kind of hypnotizing
yourself.
My
Jewish mother took care of that when I was a kid. This is a Jewish boy's thing. You do not get laid. There'll be no one better than your mother. I mean, there are years and years of history behind this.
You could change it to maybe like, I'll probably get laid. You could do something like that.
No,
you don't think so?
No, not anymore. No.
Not anymore?
There was a time you thought.
Heavy petting?
Let's not knock heavy petting.
Okay, I love heavy petting.
Yes.
Oh, Leo's getting us back on track.
Sorry.
One of the things that you guys have both mentioned that we haven't really talked a lot about was this TV show. What was the show? How did you get on the show?
Okay, so
was it on what channel was it on? How did that all come about?
Okay, so Steve Rogers, the guy I mentioned, was at the gallery. Jen introduced me at the gallery. It was a couple of days before the first or second Friendsgiving, and I said, oh, you should come to Friendsgiving. He goes, I can't make Friendsgiving. I said something like, I make homemade applesauce. He goes, oh my God, I love homemade applesauce. Mm. So I ran home, and I came back, and I gave him a jar of applesauce. And then many, many months later, Jen said, do you remember that guy that you met at the gallery? I was mentioning to him that he should do a show, and you were like, I have no idea who you're talking about. She goes, the guy you gave the applesauce to. I'm like, oh, I remember that guy. And so he said, well, she might reach out to you. So I'm like, all right. So then many more months went by, and I get this call from Steve Rogers, and he says, I'm Steve Rogers. I have this series called Here's the Story. It's on PBS. I'm going to answer all your questions, I promise. It's on PBS. Jen thought it would be really interesting for us to meet and, me to do a show. And I'm like, I laughed for like 20 minutes. And then it's like, no, seriously. I'm like, okay, fine. And then he said, so I'm really busy over the summer, but I'll get back to you. And I thought really it was more like he talked to me for 3 minutes and went, oh, fuck, this is, there's nothing here. So I'm going to just gently be like, ooh, I really want to meet you. I can't wait to get together. Ooh, I'm traveling a lot though this week. Yeah. And I was like, no problem, right? So, and then out of nowhere, like sometime in, I think it was September, I get a call and he's like, hey, it's Steve. Remember we talked about maybe doing the show? I'm like, yeah. He goes, how about this Saturday? I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, I talked to Jen and like, well, let's get together Saturday. I'm like, okay. So, he came over with his thing, and then Jen came over because like I had no idea what any of this is about. And then we went for a walk, and then I guess he really liked everything that happened, and he's like, oh, we should keep doing this. I'm like, all right. And so then we filmed a couple times. Sometimes we're walking down the boardwalk, and it's like me and him, and he's like got a camera, and I'm like, God, And and then at Friendsgiving, they had like 2 guys doing it, like things with cameras set up and everything. And
so when he's the first few times he's meeting you and he has a camera and he's following you, what are you doing? What is that about? How was that experience? Were you just walking around?
Yeah, so I remember the first time because I said to him, I've really like this could be like the biggest waste of time for you because I don't even know. But it was really funny. So we stepped out of the house and 3 seconds out of the house, like Mary McAllister came by with a group of people. I'm like, oh, hey, Mary. And then my neighbors were out. I'm like, hey, da-da. And then we went by this guy's house. I think his name was Dave, who is always out doing stuff on his house. He has this really great house. I think this is in the show. And then I'm like, we just started to chat. And then, he's like, oh, so how do you guys know each other? I'm like, I don't know him. I just know him out here. And he's like, I don't know him. I just know him. He's always right here. We always say hello. And then we wound up chatting. And then he's like, do you want to see the house? I'm like, oh, I'd love to see the house. Like, because I'm always like, and the guy just led us into his house, and Dave's there with, Steve Rogers there with his camera, and we're roaming through the house, and then, and that's, there's no, it's very rare that I walk around, unless I consciously, so I have I go through major depressions. So when I go through major depressions, I either will hide from everybody, or I'll go out, but I'm very just very focused about but otherwise, it's very rare that I would ever go anywhere that I don't just randomly talk to somebody. Which, by the way, I want to go on record because a lot of people, I got somebody who texted me going, I don't understand why they did a show about you. I talk to people, and I'm like, I got it. I don't know why they did a show about me either. So just this is all happened. I was on the radio thing. I'm doing this podcast thing. I said to Jen, she's like, oh, I should have been on the show with you today, or I wish I could have been on the show. I'm like, oh, that would have been great because I have no idea what the hell we're going to talk about. I'm not that interesting, but I just do talk to a lot of people, and I do think that for the most part, I can usually get people to open up about very personal things incredibly quickly for people who they don't know, and it's always been the case. And even my I think I told the story about the girl with the necklacey thing, mm-hmm. and then even the waitress girl that we were talking about, we talked about her graduating, and she's not real happy that she's now doing the job that she wants, and she might want to move, but she doesn't know where she wants to live, and all in a matter of 5-10 minutes, we're having this long kind of conversation about things that most people don't normally get people to do, but for some reason, I'll always remember, there was a girl, I cannot say her name, but when I was in junior high school, mm-hmm. I remember sitting with this girl, and I was like, oh my God, what's the matter? You seem like you're upset. And she goes, well, I shouldn't say his name. My boyfriend and I, we had anal sex for the first time, and I'm really kind of achy, and so on and so forth. And again, I want to mention again,
this is junior high?
This is junior high.
Back in the day, huh?
And I am like, oh, so I'm like, okay, so, is there anything I could do? And da-da-da-da. So, I've just always been able to...
That's super private.
Yeah, so I can get people really to pretty much talk about anything, but I want to be clear because I don't want to sound obnoxious like this, because this is no matter how you talk about it, it just sounds egotistical, so I really want to go okay. It's genuinely because I really care about the people I meet when I meet them, mm-hmm. and I really am interested in what we're talking about. There's no, I don't expect to have sex with somebody. I don't expect them to go, oh my God, let's hang out. I don't And that could be a guy, by the way. That could be my guy voice as well. You have these momentary meetings with people, and I think everybody has a story. You know, like you could probably have anybody sitting on Totally Local, and they probably have like a really interesting story. You know,
everybody's got a story.
Yeah, everybody's got a story, and so I just like finding out people's story. And I like finding like if somebody wears something. A lot of times, like somebody wears something, or like I've stopped people, and you know, God bless my old girlfriend Jen, because, and I think I said this in the thing too, so I'm not trying to repeat, but. So I'm one of those guys who will walk down the street, and as I'm walking down the street, there'll be somebody walking this way, and I will just say to them, oh my God, I don't know if that's normally how you cut your hair, but that is a great haircut on you. It's just great. The way, the color, the style, it like accents your face. It's amazing. And then I'll walk away, and the person will be like, oh, thank you, and I walk away, and that's it.
So do you, as far as like your you know, going through life in your everyday, you know, your occupation.
Yes.
Have you ever, like, have you like, therapy? Like, what do you do? What do you do for an occupation?
Have I been in therapy?
Yeah.
Yes, for many years.
Have you been a therapist, though?
No.
Have you done any kind of roles like that for your occupation where you were sitting down and basically talking to people?
Well, so I'm a lawyer.
Yeah, that's
you know that. So I'm a lawyer, but I'm a lawyer for a software company. And then we were a startup. And so for a really long time, I ran HR, operations, legal, and finance for us. So I kind of I do all the things that were behind the scenes, all the things that nobody else wants to do, I usually do. But no, I mean, I am a big believer in trying to be supportive of people, like if they're going to do something and try to find out about it and stuff like that. But no, I'm not, my friend Bailey, do you know Bailey? Who's your friend of Summers? Okay. You know, she like does life coaching, like that's somebody who's like trained. I'm just like some jerk who now is older. So now I can be like, well, you know, when I was a kid, I learned. Actually, that's a Jewish older guy because a little too much Jew there. Right?
No, it was perfect.
Should have been more Walter Brennan.
No, it was perfect.
Yeah, but anyway, yes.
Go.
No, you go. No, this is much more exciting if you talk.
I have I think a very important question.
Okay.
So how are you making this homemade applesauce that you keep mentioning? Is it green apples?
No. It's really this is my mom's recipe. It is it's red because it's cranberry applesauce. It's actually really, really good. And
Did you bring some for us?
I will. I'll make some and I'll bring some for you. No, it's really honestly, it's a really good recipe. It's a real no. If you ask people, pork chop and Jen, I always make extra for them because they really like it. Yeah, it's real. Honestly, it's a really good applesauce.
So when is the next dinner that you have planned? Do you have like a set date? Is it in your head?
So I have to do so. Steve might have a friend coming in on Monday, so I said, maybe we'll do something Monday. So I haven't been doing the regular dinners as often, just because I was last year and a half have been really bad because I've been like really depressed. So it's just been hard for me to kind of just
motivate.
Just to get my shit together. So I'm gonna start to do more. I just did one like Monday, I think Monday. But yeah, we could do one soon. Have you guys come? Sure, that'd be fun.
That's what Leo's getting at, basically. Just wants to get invited to your exclusive dinner party.
Just give me. It's never exclusive. It's just inside. It's exclusive because I can only fit really. No. I can only do like 14 people inside, and then it gets really like. But like I said, I bought these tables so we could do like 20 to sit down outside. It'll be 20, and that's easier outside. But yeah, sure. That'd be great.
Do you find that you've been in the area, Ocean Grove, Asbury Park area for how long now? 10 years?
I think 14 or 15, something like that.
Do you feel that there's been, this is my opinion, is that there are the people like yourself or say Jen Hampton who like you meet them and they talk and they're interested in kind of the local culture or local people. And then there's other people that are just kind of fly by night. They're just kind of there doing whatever they do, going out to eat, having drinks, and they're not really interested in learning more about the people in the area. Do you find that recently with all this influx of people that it's either less friendly or there's more people there that aren't really interested in talking or getting to know? Or do you find it's kind of just bigger?
It's a lot of questions there, so I'm going to try to work them all through. So no, I disagree with the premise. I think people are people, and I do think there are more people. I do think that there are people who are coming down for more of a brief experience with Asbury. but I think everybody likes to meet people and talk with people. I don't find it really any different, because also you have a lot of people like, you see people standing there and they're like, I don't know, I think Johnny Mac's is, and I'm like, you go to Johnny Mac's and this is where you go, and then you go like, oh, like it's 8:30, it's a little early for beer. Do you want to go to Purple Glaze? I'm like, what's Purple Glaze? Oh my God, you should go to Purple Glaze, and you have that, right? So I think it's just a matter of, because it's like in New York, people are like, oh, nobody's friendly in New York, they're all too busy. I'm like, that's not true. You just stop somebody and talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that. I think I have a very big belief that, and maybe I say this in the thing, I have this speech thing coming up. I think it's not a speech. I'm supposed to be I'm a storyteller coming up at this women's symposium thing. And but I'm a big believer that community is a verb. So I think everybody in life wants to feel like they're part of a community. And that can be big and small. But the problem is that to be part of a community, you need to actively participate in that. And that's meeting people and wanting to spend a moment of your time with them and being involved. And so I think, I have friends throughout my life who will like move a lot, and they'll be places and they'll feel like, I really don't know anybody, and all these people and I don't know anyone. I'm like, well, why don't you just like have a dinner party or join a group? But you have to actively participate.
Yeah, you have to put your foot out, take that first step out,
Yeah. But I think people want that. I think we all want to make a connection. The more digital we get, and I'm a very big tech guy. I'm one of those guys who walk in the house, things happen, and you could say, do this, turn on that, this will go on. I could turn on my lights here. I can brush my teeth from here. I'm very big on technology. But I think technology is a tool, but it's not a life. Mm-hmm. So I'm not a big, my kids told me I do like and post more, mainly because of the show to promote for Steve, which is also was a weird thing, because it's like, I want to promote for Steve because I think he did a really a good job with bad material, and I really would. But at the same thing, you're kind of like, oh, come watch me, right? Which is kind of obnoxious. But
I love it. But come watch me.
Yeah,
watch the show.
Yeah, but the thing is that I think that people really want to connect, and they really want to have a moment with people, and you talk to people. I've never done like an online dating thing because it's just not my thing. Hence why but I think that even when you talk to people doing it, it's like, but I want the connection. And I'm not talking the sex. I'm talking like, I want the connection. I want to talk with the person. I want to see what they're like. And so I think everybody wants that. And I think throughout your day, if you think about it, the best example would be is if you go to a restaurant and the waitress, you could just tell they're having like those days. And if you spend the second, they all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, look, I have a moment to pause, right? And it's like when you have stress and somebody's like, oh my God, are you okay? What's going on? It's that human touch. Mm-hmm. And I think if you just spend your life trying to make human touches, everybody will want to give back.
So you mentioned on it's April 24th.
SOAR. I could put a thing in. Yes, it's SOAR.
SOAR Women's Symposium.
Yes.
So you're giving a talk at a women's symposium.
I am their first male, which will be they'll then have justification for never having another guy. I actually leave the country the next day, so I could publicly humiliate myself and then move on. But yes, there's a woman, Jessica, and this other woman, Jen. There's many Jens in my life, but a different Jen and this woman, Jessica. This is their thing. Mm-hmm. And I met Jessica through my friend Jasmine, who came to Supper Club. That's how I met her. And I think it's been a year or two. I'm not really good with time. And they were always like, oh, we thought it'd be really neat if you would. And then they just recently said, we really think it'd be great if you would just come and talk. We want you to be our first guy. I'm like, okay. So it's coming up. I don't exactly know yet what I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. And when I do talk, because for work I have to do things like this, not talk about myself. I'm not a writer. Like I was talking to a friend of mine in Florida, and he's like, "You're not writing something." I'm like, "No, I know I probably should come up with something because I'm not a welcome. Today I'm going to talk about a wonderful world of Bob." Right? Like I'm more kind of like, So I am really the parenthesis. That's what I've decided. That's how I'm going to probably open it up. That I realize I am the parenthesis of the thing because it's kind of like all the ads are like, attend SOAR, meet these incredible, remarkable, entrepreneurial, world-class women who are going to change and morph your life into something great, and then in parentheses, and Bob Ellis.
And Bob will be there too.
Yes, exactly. So I'm more like the parenthesis guy.
This is at the Detour Gallery?
Yes, it's at a gallery up in Red Bank. Yes, I think there's still some tickets available. That it's a lovely, this is a great group of women who, well, I guess it really doesn't matter. They're women. This is a great group of people who do these wonderful events. It's really been, they've had really good success with it. The ladies who run it are truly remarkable women. And I think people will really, you can go to on pee break when I talk, but it's literally going to be these wonderful thing. And I think it's really it's going to be a great event because it's like their third or fourth year and it keeps getting bigger and they have this great positive effect on people. So yeah, it's kind of exciting, incredibly nerve-wracking. Again, being the first guy.
The first man.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's great, though.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. Great is one word that it could be.
How long?
Scorched earth.
How long are you going to talk for?
I asked that, like, how long is and it's like my old English professor in junior high school said to me, it's like a women's skirt. Long enough to cover the subject, but short enough to be interesting. So I have absolutely no idea.
But you don't have a subject.
I don't. I have an idea of what I'm going to talk about. It's supposed to be a story, but I don't really have that kind of a life.
I feel like a story about you and your mother and those interactions would just really be cool.
By the way, I just want to go on record because my sister will see this and then she'll laugh. So my mom, by the way, was never that kind of a Jewish mother. I was just making a joke. She's actually never been. It's so funny because she's always like, so what did Dad and I do something because you're always so hard on yourself and, we love you. And so, no, we actually have a very tight, great family. Really, my mom is honestly, if you met my mom, she's a really amazing woman.
All right, I have another idea for your talk.
Yes.
Applesauce.
Called gens. And you can
The
talk about
gens in
all
my
the
life?
gens in your life and how they've affected it and make...
Yes.
Because you've mentioned like 5 gens.
Yes, that would go over so well in front of a group of women. Yes. I was thinking because I'll be the only guy there, I thought maybe like a proper, especially in this whole Me Too time, maybe it would be like the proper way to pee on a toilet. Only a man can explain
Well, first
how
of
to
all,
sit and pee.
you gotta pee in a toilet, not on a toilet.
No,
but
that's true. I guess that's true. Oh, that could be the thing. You know.
We're just spitballing here. We don't know.
Yeah, the difference between peeing on and peeing in. Although I used to be a maintenance man at the Route 1 flea market, and honestly, I had no idea. Like, when you walk by ladies' rooms, like when you're wearing your ladies' room, and you hear that like noise, I never realized what that is that's helicoptering, because women in ladies' rooms, they do not sit on the toilets, and for some reason they have really bad aim. Because being a maintenance guy, I can tell you, cleaning a ladies' woman and cleaning a men's room, you don't want to clean the ladies' room. It's pretty damn gross.
You started at the bottom.
This was Route 1 flea market. It was pretty gross no matter where you were. But
Wow.
I don't know if it's still there anymore. Yeah, Route 1 had a big flea market.
I used to go, but I think it's gone now. I think they replaced it with a movie theater.
Yes, remember I was probably, in my third year of law school, like my last year of law school, and you were born. So just remember, we got like a big time.
So you were going to law school and cleaning toilets at the same time?
No, I was in college cleaning law school at the time because I was paying for law school. I was paying for a college job.
Grinding it out.
Yeah. I worked at Crazy Eddie's though. That was my big. That was
the prices. Were they insane?
They were insane. It was also that was when Crazy Eddie was not yet.
Getting in trouble.
Getting in trouble, and we had a great store. It was very cool.
Were you a salesman?
I was a salesman.
I could see you selling a couple. Oh, really? In the record department?
I'm a big music fan. I mean, we were talking in the hallway about you. I'm a very big music fan. So
this came with your ability to talk to people. You would be able to walk up to somebody, say, "I like your haircut. Here's the new Steely Dan record. You got to get this."
Yeah, I'm not big on the clothes. It would be more like like you seem like somebody would like Steely Dan. Do you know Steely Dan? And then we'd go off to some esoteric band or something like that. Which I'm not going to mention because since you are a music person, you'll be like, oh yeah, those are antique people. So I'm like,
I like all kinds of music. It all fits together. I think that's wonderful. Is there, as far as going out and being social, in Asbury Park, Ocean Grove, are there places that you kind of would recommend if somebody was going out and saying like, hey, I don't really know the area and I just want to go out and have fun, nothing crazy, what would you recommend? anywhere particular?
Yeah. So I'm not really a big drinker, so that knocked out 90% of Asbury, right? So I would always say to somebody, I guess if they were coming in, you should go to the gallery, first of all. Stop by the Parlor Gallery because everybody should support art. And they should go to the movies because Mike and Nancy own the movie.
The showroom on Cookman?
The showroom on Cookman. But I think you should always go to the gallery because I think that's where you'll meet a bunch of eclectic people because the Lanes, is not the Lanes anymore.
Yeah.
And not that I was a big person who went to the Lanes, but the few times I did go to the Lanes, it was one of the few places where I felt comfortable, which is, I don't really feel comfortable in those places. No, the Asbury Yacht Club I like to go to because I can there and Langosta because it's free and I can actually stand and watch music and nobody hits me for are you drinking? Are you drinking? Are you drinking? Are you drinking? The beer garden also is kind of neat that way, but they're all based on alcohol. There's not really a lot of culturally exciting things to do down in this area.
That's what I liked about the Lanes is because you could go in and I would just sometimes I wouldn't want to. I would just sit in the back. You could sit in the back and not be near the drinks and just sit there because I like to just sit and watch.
Right.
So that would be a good spot. But I kind of hear what you're saying as far as it's either you're drinking or where else are you gonna go? You know.
So that's why I also do dinners. So over the summer I do a lot of barbecues and I like to just get people together because there really is no place to just get together.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there really is no, and it's not like it's the city where you can go and you can roam around and there's always something interesting to do or there's some street performer and you can sit and watch that or I like dance and theater and things like that. And so, we're not a very culturally sophisticated town.
True.
It's not like the old Belmar kind of days or Seaside Heights type of days. But if you don't drink, you can go for dinner. Right, and then, but then there really isn't. I mean, if there is more, then I don't know about it. And I'm sure there's a whole cool kids thing, like you said.
Tell me where it is. I don't know where the cool kids hang out.
I know, that they used to have all you could do the interesting little show, sex toy bingo, or you can go do the trivia night over here, or you can go over to and I do think Tina's thing over at the Danny Clinch thing that's kind of nice. They have the performers, and that's kind of a nice thing. But there's not there's no real place to just kind of chill and be with people and chat and stuff like that unless you're at a bar and.
Did you go with Summer when we were at the gallery? She mentioned there's an adult roller skating night.
We were going to do on Tuesday nights. Yeah. So we have had this elusive time of actually getting to that.
I'm getting there in May.
But we are gonna go. All right, well, we'll make sure she tells you. Yeah, we're gonna go. Steve was like, I've never roller skated or I haven't roller skated since I was a kid. I'm like, well, we'll all go. We'll
I love roller skating.
Yeah, so I think that that's somewhere in Jackson, not to promote it, but so we're gonna try to do that, and then
promote everything.
I want to see if we can get people to go bowling. I think bowling's that good stupid stuff that's kind of fun to do.
Yeah.
But there's really just
there's stuff you gotta look around. I wish there was more of a kind of a community calendar between Monmouth and Ocean County where you could see everything.
Right.
But everything is so kind of separate that it's hard to find.
No, that's true. I actually was hoping that one day when I first moved down, I thought they have that Asbury, the what's going on in Asbury thing, and that had listings. But then it's either music, which is great, not knocking the music scene. But if you want to do something that's interactive.
Yeah.
But it's not just drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not really a lot.
There's these UFO things that happen in Atlantic Highlands where these people that are into UFOs get together. I'm like, I want to go to that because I want to see what the hell kind of people are there and what they're talking about.
Oh, that would be cool.
But I can't, it pops up on Facebook and then I can't find it anymore. I wish it was just all kind of...
Are you talking about aliens?
Yes, yeah.
I'm talking about aliens.
Did you see that guy on the boardwalk last year? So last year, late August, some guy at night, he came down... And it was huge. It was like my height, right? And he brought his telescope, and he had it on Jupiter and Saturn, he would move it, and people just lined up, and he's like, yeah, I have this telescope. I thought it'd be kind of cool. And people would line up, and you could see the rings, and he's like,
oh wow.
And they're like, oh wait, I'm gonna shift to Jupiter. And people would get back in line, and it's like, yeah, thought this would be kind of cool.
See,
it's those types of things that I like when those things happen.
Definitely.
I met this couple, and I friended her on Facebook, or she friended me or something like that. And I saw that she does these belly dancing things on the boardwalk last year, which I hadn't seen. So I haven't talked to her yet, but I'm like, oh my God, you do this belly dancing. I wanna know when you do your next belly dancing thing, because I think that'd be like fun to just like go watch, or try to, again, Jewish guy dancing. It's not really pretty, but I I think those things would be neat. So yeah, I like things that are more interesting, not knocking drinking or going to music. It's just also, if you go for music, you can't really chat.
Yeah, definitely.
Like that's the problem. And even even at like either at the at Langosta or the Asbury Yacht Club, and then I have gone to the New Lanes, which I'm not, obviously I'm always going to be pro Gen, so, but I didn't like it because there is nowhere to kind of like have a moment.
On like a concert night, they have other nights where they have other chairs set up and bean bags, and you could sit down if you want. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, so the thing is that if you go, you really don't have a chance. Like if you want to go out with people and just kind of hang out, there's really no place
to just sit.
At least if there is, I'm not on that list.
They need like an after hours like library where you could sit down and have a coffee or a tea and just kind of hang out.
Well, I said to Ross, I used to say, you should open, he owns America's Cup. Ross? Okay. I'm like, oh, you should have like a late night. And he's like, in fairness to him, he's, I'm open enough.
Yeah.
Not knocking him at all. So it's a great place. He's a great guy. I want to make sure nobody takes this the wrong way. He's like, I don't need to be open 24 hours a day. But I'm like, oh, because your place would be the perfect place just for that. Like, even if you're out, there's just sometimes like you just want to, even if you meet somebody, right? There's nowhere to go to just sit and chill. And if you're like, oh, let's go to the beach, maybe we sit and chill. They're like, oh no, you're stalker killer person. Like, so you don't want to be that. So yeah, there is no after hours. I know that Taka had said at one point, I don't know if it's still happening, that they were going to put like that kind of a place downstairs. They're still doing the thing downstairs. And at one time he had said that, but that was a while ago, so I don't even know if that's still true. But like, it'd be nice if there was something right in town.
I'd pay a cover for that. I'd pay like $5 to go in. Maybe if it was even BYO, where you just could bring if you want. But I would just pay $5 so I could just go sit and listen to like background music. Maybe there'd be an area where if you wanted to dance and get crazy, but then there'd be a whole other area where you could just sit down and talk to people.
Like, how about this? People playing records, lounging out.
Yes.
I love that.
That would be great. We
Almost
just need
like
to
a speakeasy.
Yes, we need a speakeasy.
Like the one that we had where there were records and people playing them and people lounging around.
Where was that speakeasy?
At the bank. Remember when the bank had the speakeasy in the basement?
Oh, that was yeah. I was never cool enough to. I didn't go in there.
That was the only place I would go. That was my favorite by far.
People love that.
We wanted to. That was the one day. Jen would really love Parlor Jen. We'd love to have that building.
Yeah.
Right? We'd have that.
Trinity and the Pope.
There'd be artist space, a little restaurant, a chill place, right? Yeah, all that would be. Yeah.
That's Night Owl Hospitality. One of the members of Night Owl used to serve the drinks in the. Because they had the place open, and they were like, this one dude was just like, well, can I just do what I want to do in this little tiny area in the basement? And they're like, yeah, sure. And that turned out to be more popular than the rest. And the building's cool. If you go up to the top floor, there's the bar, and then there's this huge space in the back.
It's like a big catering. Yeah, it's a huge space.
Never really utilized the whole building. No. And I don't want to be elitist, but on the other hand, it's one of these things where you kind of see it on a larger scale in Asbury Park, where it was cool and people knew about it, but it was like kind of underground, and then it became this popular thing where all these other people were coming, and some people might have been rowdy or rude, and you kind of want to keep it special to yourself. So I think that was kind of one of the things that Jen mentioned, as far as like having it be like a members. You kind of have to have like a members only club where who's coming in, they're paying their dues, and it's not some bar where you're just gonna.
Well, the best place for that would be is if Cross and Orange, that location would be perfect because it's right by the park.
Yeah.
It'd be great if they kind of said, yeah, we're not making it.
Yeah.
And actually converted that into a members club.
Yeah.
Little bit of food, but not a restaurant. A little bit of liquor, not really a bar.
Yeah.
But really just a place where you can go. They have like coffee, desserts, teas, throughout the day. Maybe it's like, from 6 to 10. There's like some finger food, but it's just a place to go before you go somewhere else. And when you're done at the end of the night that you want to go, or it's like, it's 8:00 on a Saturday. I've had a really shitty day. I don't really feel like going out, or like, I'm a loser. I'm not with anybody, but you don't feel like being at home. You'd go there because, right, you're a member. You can go and you can sit and read the paper. You know, maybe there's games there, and that would be the thing.
Maybe there's a record player.
Right? No, but there could be. No, you know,
we need this. How do we get this going, Bob?
Come on, Bob.
Bob, how do we get this going, Bob?
But that kind of thing that people would pay.
I would pay
because it'd be nice to have that thing, and then you have.
That's funny.
You know, it'd be classic because then there should be like a maitre d' person who kind of. You know,
I'm gonna haunt you now, Bob. I'm gonna ask you about this, and I'm gonna go bother
this
Jen.
Podcast will haunt you. I apologize. It might be that
great.
This is awesome. No, people. It's kind of like what you do with when you meet people and you're building a community, whether you like it or not, because you're introducing people. It introduces this web, and we find people that, believe it or not, we find you interesting. We wanted you to come on here. We wanted to talk to you, and every time we have a guest on, we had Jen on.
Well, Jen.
Well, Jen introduced us to more people. We went to the Parlor Gallery. We met Summer there. Summer introduced us to you. So
Summer, by the way, is an amazing person.
Yeah, everyone.
You know, I've slowly started to kind of peel back the onion of Summer. Mm-hmm. Have you met Summer? Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. You meet her and you're like, oh. And then you like talk to like, what do you do? Well, I run this. I've done this. I've done that. I'm teaching here. I'm doing this. But I'm like, oh. Yeah. Like, you're like the bomb. Right? She's like, I'm not really the bomb. I'm like, oh, you're kind of like the bomb. And then last night we were talking, and I'm like, da-da-da, and I went to her website, because she's like, oh, you should go to one of my classes. I'm like, oh, let me see, because I'm always, like, doing stuff. And then I saw all these people. I'm like, oh, my God, you got, like, a really big staff. She goes, oh, yeah, like 22 people or something. I'm like, oh, yeah. Yeah, so, like, this very, you know, unassuming kind of, like, you know, it's also, like with Jen. So I go down usually with the gallery. I didn't last year, so I don't want to say I do it all the time. To Art Basel down in Miami to help them. I'm a big supporter of the gallery, so I like to do whatever I can to help. Right. So we would go down to Art Basel, right, and then we'd be setting up, and then people from like all over the country and all over the world who have galleries that are there, right, will come by like, oh my God, Jen, da 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 da. And I used to say to her, you don't have any idea, like you're the bomb. Like I like she is so unassuming about herself, right?
Yeah.
But she knows her stuff. She's super connected to people. People incredibly value, except I guess the guys from iStar or whatever, but incredibly value like what she says, like, because we'll go things and the people like, it's, so I find those people, like, this is the story, right? You meet these people that you're like, and then you're like, oh, like again, like Summer, she's like a bomb. Like, you know, you're like, she's got like all this stuff going on. And you're kind of like, you know, like, what are you doing? Well, I'm going to make an Impossible Burger. And but then I'm working on my thesis and I have another book and I'm doing this talk and like, oh, tomorrow night I'm, you know, talking at Monmouth University. I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm going to go to record club. By the way, there's record club. Do you do record club at Monmouth University?
No.
Oh, so once a month. The last one's coming up in May. But once a month, Monmouth University does this thing called Record Club. And they take an album and they bring in an expert about the album and they talk about the album.
See,
so like last night was Asia, and they had a guy who come in from Brooklyn. He's like a leading expert on, you know, Steely Dan, and they talk about like, but they had like John Coltrane's Love Supreme. You know,
that's cool.
They had the London Calling, the Clash, and so they did Tracy Chapman, which I was not there for that, but I heard that one was good. They did the White Album one. That one they did not do it good.
Didn't do good.
No, they were doing like a Beatles weekend, and really every other word out of their mouth is, you know, you can learn more at our Beatles weekend. It's like, yeah, I don't know.
It's like an ad.
But yeah, so the guy is knowledgeable. Well, you know, I don't say it because it's going to sound mean. So, but so that's kind of a cool thing, right? But yeah, you know, she's like, she talked on Monday, and then her friend Bailey talked there on Tuesday, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm talking to all these students and these professors and so on and so forth. And like, what are you gonna do, Mom? I'm like, oh, I'm gonna sit and watch somebody talk about it.
But you are going to be one of the first male speakers on a women's symposium panel thing.
I will be the last male speaker. You know,
first and last.
There you go. There you go. It'll be a very short race. Very short race. Exactly.
You also did you were on 94.3.
Oh yeah, that was another funny thing. So Steve calls me up one day. He goes, "Hey, there's this Liz and Lou want us to be," and this is, you know, Liz and Lou want us to be on their thing. And of course, I don't really listen to like local radio that much, which I will now, of course, but no. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. They're like, oh, like they're like the biggest talk show in Jersey. I'm like, okay. So like, how about like next Wednesday? I'm like, okay. So I show up. And we meet in front of the building, and then we go upstairs, and then we're in like a lobby, and he's like, all right, let me just text somebody, and then this woman comes to the door, and I don't know who anybody is, right? This woman comes to the door, and then we're walking, and then all of a sudden the door opens up, and it's like this. And then Lou is on the thing, and the woman who came to the door was Liz, right? And they're like, okay, this is, here's your mic. We're going to put it right here, and then put these things on, and then, okay, he's going to finish a commercial, and then we're just going to ask you some questions. Like,
boom.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't really have, it's all been.
Life is being thrust in your face, Bob.
It is. I know you don't know me, but people who know me know this is not my comfort zone. I am not a...
Get used to it. I see a meteoric rise here.
Yeah, no. But it's just been like this. Like people like, you mean you're doing a podcast? I'm like, I don't know. Summer introduced me to some guy. The guy said, you want to do a podcast? I'm like, sure, why not? And then
Perfect.
Marilyn Schlossberg, from Lagonsta.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I'm doing this food thing. Do you want to be on my podcast? I'm like, oh, okay. And then
Boom.
Steve knows Angie Pontani. Anyway, she does burlesque and stuff, but she also does this cooking show. And she's like, oh, they were thinking that maybe she would do something at one of your supper clubs and we'd film it. I'm like, oh.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's way more conscious than the whole concept behind it. So it's like a real weird to me.
You're like a connector, Bob.
I am a connector. No, I do like to get people together. And then if I get your emails, then you'll also get, because I don't sleep a lot, I am also the guy in the middle of the night that will be reading something and then Jen used to say to me, old girlfriend Jen would say, you really should not be texting people at 3 a.m. I'm like, oh, but I'm reading this article. I think it should be like, Leo had mentioned he liked this thing, and then all of a sudden you'll get like, what? Why applesauce helps your life, right? Like, because I'm that guy who sends those articles out to people when I'm reading something like, oh, this person would like this. Like, there's just a big article about that yoga, the corporate group that owns the yoga studios all over, and then like how their tactics and stuff. So I sent it out to all my friends who are doing yoga, but I also wrote that saying, I'm not making any commentary here. Like, I'm not saying what you do is good or bad. I'm just saying you might want to just know about this article. But yeah, I'm not the people who work with me, I have a team of people, like they'll also get oh, did you see this? So yeah, people know to turn their phones off if they know me, because I literally will text people all hours of the night.
So as far as, here's the story. Your episode is, the next time it's going to be on locally on PBS will be April 12th at 10:32 p.m. I don't know why they were very specific. Here's the story. I Talk to Strangers. You'll also be able to find it eventually. It's not on there yet, but on njtvonline.org.
Yes.
You'll find it on there /program/here's
and the
dash
24th,
the dash story.
Steve told me on the 24th, they're actually going to air the full hour.
Okay.
It's 2 half hours.
Oh.
Which I've never seen the 2 half hours.
Oh.
Like, I've never seen the next time on Here's the Story and last time on Here's the Story. I haven't seen that.
Well, the next thing I was going to say is if you go to longfellowdeedsinc.com, there's actually a embedded Here's the Story. It's the full hour. I don't know if there's another one or if that's the full one.
What I posted online is the full episode, or the 2 episodes that Steve put together, because we did like a little premiere at the Parlor Gallery. But that episode he put together, that's where my daughter does the introduction, which is not on the TV thing.
Okay.
And then and you see boobs.
Okay.
Because they it's it's an art gallery.
It's a painting.
There's a painting in the background with boobs, but on the PBS people made him
no boobs.
Like how to get rid of all the boobs. I could have stabbed somebody, and that would have been okay.
That's ridiculous. But whatever. It's PBS.
Whatever. It's PBS. It was very nice that they let the show air. But that's my understanding. Yeah. So I sent around, because Steve said it was okay, the link to the full hour, just because
Yeah, you can't really find. I had to, it was on the website. Luckily, my lovely wife was like, I was like, I can't find the episode. She's like, oh, he said go to the website.
What'd your wife do? I forgot. Didn't I meet her?
Yes, she did. She's a yoga teacher. That's how she knows Summer.
That's right. Yeah. I forgot. That's right. I did that. Are you married too?
I'm not married.
You're not married? Do you have a partner? Or
no.
Nothing? All right. I'm all right.
Single, ready to mingle.
All right. So I'll have to say, okay. All right.
All right. Well, I mean, I have more. I think we want to have you back on just because there's more going on. I think, Bob, me and you are going to be talking more.
At dinner.
I'm gonna definitely have you guys. You definitely guys will come to dinner.
All right, cool.
You have to get me all your info,
yes.
And then absolutely, we'll do a dinner. We'll have you guys come.
And if anybody listening is interested in donating,
yes.
you can do so on the link.
You can do it on the link,
which is at the bottom of the website. So scroll on down, and the website is
longfellowdeedsinc.com.
And our website is
TotallyLocalPodcast.com.
And our Instagram is
Totally_local_podcast.
And how can you find us on Facebook?
You just type in Totally Local Podcast, it'll pop up.
And YouTube?
Oh, man. Well, we don't have enough subscriptions yet to have the fancy link, so just go to the website. Oh, and this is special because it took me a while to really, I always got to thank Leo for being so wonderful in general, but also for motivating me to kind of get everything together on here. We are on Stitcher now. We're on Spotify. I'm waiting to get the approval from iTunes because that was one of the first things Jen Hampton did was she typed in iTunes like, oh, where's your podcast? She's like, oh, it didn't come up. And then Leo gave me a look like, you effed up again, Andrew. So I've been proactively putting it out where you're supposed to put everything out for our podcast.
How did you guys meet?
We met at our friend Heather and Mike's house, and Leo.
Wait,
Leo,
Heather, who does like the kazoo band?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I know Heather.
Yeah.
I was the grand.
Yeah.
Heather, who keeps saying she's going to come, that they're going to come, but they haven't.
Yeah.
I didn't know you know Heather.
Oh yeah. See, there you go.
Such good people.
Oh, good.
Husband might be watching right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we
great people.
We met at Heather and Mike's, and Leo said, "Wow, we're gonna be best friends." And I said, "Sure." I said, "Definitely."
And how long ago was that?
It's been a few years.
That might be 7 years now.
Yeah.
Wow. And then were you always like? Did you start the podcast with Leo, or did Leo come in later?
I did a me and him had
a lot of like, and so. Pause. And you're like, oh, I should have somebody else to fill that gap.
It's pretty much exactly what we used to have a podcast together called Top 5 Records, and we talk about music. But due to copyright and my lack of sanity, it didn't gel as well. And then I was talking to Ming maybe about a year ago, and he was opening his podcast studio here. And I started the podcast last year. It was just me, and I'd have a guest.
Got it.
But not everybody has free time in the middle of the day during the week. A lot of people have jobs where they just can't do this.
I took the day off today.
Boom. There you go.
Yeah.
So I was doing it for a while, and then it kind of got really rocky because of scheduling and yada, yada, yada. And I wanted to do it again, and I'm just like, why don't I just have Leo here so that if we don't have a guest, me and Leo can just banter.
I ran into him at a party, and I knew he was doing this, and I remember going, because I had been drinking.
Leo's
and I remember walking up to him and going, we should do that podcast you're doing together.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be so fun doing that.
Well, it's grown
fun,
too.
Yeah.
Leo's brought in different now we have segments where Leo goes to he went to Little Silver. He explored
areas
Little Silver
during the coastline, the train. So I'm stopping at every stop, and I report back about what I find at each of the stops. So
now you're doing that live as you're going I'm getting off the train now, or is it little
it's
recordings?
It's on the Instagram, so you see recordings, you see pictures of where I go. I meet owners of the restaurants. I talk about it.
And he
How cool is that?
Yeah,
and he
fun,
comes.
yeah.
He'll come. Then we'll kind of
It's like
reconvene
a
on the
Where's
show.
Waldo? It's like Where's Leo, right? It's like a Leo spotting.
Send
Exactly.
me out in the street.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting too because now he'll be out by himself and he just has a reporter presence where people will be like, "What are you doing?" And then he tells them about the podcast. We have business cards, so it's become a thing. So now
you should wear a shirt that says "Be a Leo," and then people will be like, "Oh my God, I'm more of a tourist," and you're like, "No, this is what it means." And people are like, "Oh my God, that's so great."
The number one question I get when I meet somebody is, "Are you a Leo?" So yeah, that might. But
Right?
no, I'm not. I'm a Virgo.
Okay, but there you go. But I think
that starts the conversation. Yeah.
that's so cool though.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Well, so I mean,
How did you meet Heather and Mike?
Heather and Mike, my friend
did you
Ralph.
Show stuff?
I met my friends Heather and Mike. I met through my friend Ralph Gould, who knows Ralph's the reason I got my first DJ gig at Watermark. He's the reason that I met Jen Hampton and got connected with her. He's another connector that just knows a lot of people. So he introduced me to Heather and Mike, and it was great because I moved. I talk about this on every podcast, but I moved. I moved away for 10 years. I lived in Albuquerque for 10 years, and then I moved back. And all of my friends that I had, they were doing their own thing, and I didn't know anybody. And then I finally moved down to Ocean Grove, and I didn't really know anybody. And I'd go to say the Annex when DJ Prestige was still there, and it was all dark and cool in there. I'd go there and just hang out. I didn't know anybody. I'd go to different things. I didn't know anybody. And I kept running into Ralph. Everywhere I went, I would randomly run into Ralph. And then we just started hanging out. We were like, all right, I guess we're supposed to hang out. So we started hanging out, and then he introduced me to a bunch of people, and here we are.
That's really good. And where are you from? Are you from here?
I live in Asbury Park now, yep, but I'm from Union.
Oh, you're from Union. Right, from West Orange originally.
I'm in Seton Hall. So.
Oh, Seton Hall. All right. All right, there you go. Union's like up and coming again.
Is it?
Same thing West Orange. Yeah.
No,
like,
I just swing back by that. I haven't been there long.
Yeah, I don't go back home. I don't go back home.
This is my new home.
I was just in New Brunswick, meeting some guys, and so I was president of Rutgers for a long time. Like like my class and everything, and we did all their things and stuff, and like their graduation ceremony, design, and all that. But I am the worst president because I have not been there in a really long time. So I was just back in New Brunswick, and it's like a nice place to be. So we were talking to the waitress. And I'm like, oh no, you would never walk. You'd run through downtown New Brunswick because that's when like they had the porn theater and it was really disgusting.
When it was good.
Mm-hmm. It was great. It was great. Greasy Tony's, you know. You could do that. Filippo's would deliver till like 4 a.m. and it was basically like a paper plate with a little bit of red sauce and like a thing that looked like cheese, but it would move, and you'd be like, "Oh, this is the best pizza ever."
That's a great segue. Speaking of a slice of pizza on a greasy plate.
Oh yeah, how's it going?
So we're also doing a segment where we're trying to find. We are out on the streets trying to find the best sliced pizza in Monmouth County and in Ocean County, which means we basically have to go to every sliced pizza place. That's
we've
with
gotten
a decent
some
rating.
recommendations.
Yeah,
it has to be.
TJ's has got really good pizza.
That's on the list. It has to be.
It has to be a slice.
It has to be a slice.
You have to be able to walk in
classic.
and leave with a slice of
like
pizza.
A classic place, like this place right over here in the parking lot.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. No.
I didn't make the cut.
They did not make round one.
But I found TJ's is very. I think TJ's. You know what else is really good too?
What?
If you're going down 71, like you're going to 18, where you're past the Cone Zone, and then when you go past Cone Zone, there's like a little shopping mall, like little strip thing, and there's a pizza place in there. They make very good sliced pizza.
What is that? Is that Tony's?
I don't know.
I'll have to look
it up. That's pretty good. But I find that so far the best sliced pizza I have around here has been TJ's. They also make kick-ass strombolis.
Okay.
Like they make them like I used to when I worked at all of a sudden I'm forgetting the name of the stromboli place that it was in Rutgers. Oh my God!
You worked at a stromboli place too?
Yes, I washed dishes there.
There's a lot under the surface. I think we've only scratched
Talking
the surface.
Talking about peel the layers back.
Poor working, So yeah, I did not have any really glamorous jobs.
That's the best stories.
Crazy Eddie's was my exciting college job. Otherwise, it was really pretty crappy job.
That's how all the best stories start.
But you know who worked at I can't believe I can't think of the name of the Stromboli place. It's like so funny. I can't think of it now. The guy who's I think it's Mario, but like
I know.
If I remember correctly, that was the guy who worked at the Stromboli place when I was there. He was a mean son of a bitch, but he was very good. But he did one time let me like flip the pizza thing. So I did do that.
Are you good at it or no?
No, not at all.
Pizza
but I still try to do that in my house when I make pizza. Like I'll try to do that and then.
It falls on the floor. You just blow on it.
And
keep it
you don't go like this. You have to go like this so it lands flat. Because if you do this, it just
cuts the.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know.
Yeah, it's very very important stuff.
Layers. So Bob, thanks for coming on and chatting with us.
Thank you guys really very much. And by the way, there's no problem if you're kind of like. Oh, we're sorry that we can't do this week's episode.
Oh no,
it's out there.
It's out there. And
but
Leo always told me that
1 minute and 17 seconds of live content is out in the world.
I asked Leo, I'm like, what if we do an episode and it sucks? And he's like, oh, don't worry, we're putting everything up there. So at the end of the year, we could have the rated worst show.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
so
I'll be back for the awards.
You'll be back to collect your
exciting,
award.
Again, I was never the first guy picked for the sports and stuff, so I'm used to kind of like, what about that log? No, it's either Bob or the log. And
Bob or the log.
So sure, that'd be great. I'll come back.
Fingers
the worst
crossed.
show. Yeah.
I'd like to
thank you guys very much.
I'd like to thank Bob again. I'd like to thank Leo, as always, for being the co-host on Totally Local Podcast. I'd like to thank a Shared Universe Podcast Studio for hosting all this wonderful stuff, and of course Ming for making it all happen. I am Andrew Top Hat. Again, thank you, Bob. Thank you, Leo. And everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you next time. Boom.
Okay. Well, thank you, guys. That was actually very fun.